The first time all my siblings sat around the same table again, none of us knew how to talk to each other. Not really. We had things to say. We just didn't know where to begin. My mother was asleep in a hospital room a few doors away, and the silence in that waiting area felt heavier than the fear that had brought us there. I looked around at the people I'd grown up with and realized something that still hurts to admit. I knew their names, I knew their birthdays, I knew what they looked like, but I no longer knew their lives. My name is Timothy, and people often ask when my family fell apart. I never know how to answer because nothing happened. There was no fight, no inheritance dispute, no betrayal. No one stormed out of the house promising never to return. If anything, we loved each other right to the very end. We just stopped making room for one another. When I think about my childhood, I remember noise before I remember faces. Somebody was always laughing. Somebody was always arguing over the television remote. Somebody was always in the kitchen stealing meat from the pot before dinner. Our house never stayed quiet for long. My mother would clap her hands and shout, "If all of you have this much energy, somebody should help me wash these plates." My younger brother would disappear before she finished the sentence. My sisters would start blaming each other. My father would pretend to be reading his newspaper while smiling behind it. By evening, we'd all be back around the same table as though nothing had happened. That was simply how family worked. Birthdays meant a full house. Christmas meant mattresses spread across every room because cousins and relatives came from everywhere. Nobody needed an invitation. You just showed up. Even after I started working, Sunday afternoons belonged to the family. My mother cooked enough food for people who hadn't even arrived yet. She always believed someone might pass by. Usually someone did. Then adulthood arrived so quietly that none of us noticed what it was taking. I got married. One sister moved to another state after her husband's transfer. My younger brother accepted a job overseas. Another sibling started a business that consumed every weekend. Life became calendars, meetings, school runs, mortgage payments, traffic, deadlines. Whenever my mother called, she ended every conversation the same way. "When are you all coming home together again?" "Soon, Mom." It became everyone's favorite lie. At first, we still tried. Someone would suggest a family lunch. Another person couldn't make it. They proposed the following month instead. The following month, someone else's child had exams. Then work became busy. Then travel came up. Then another excuse replaced the last one. Without realizing it, we stopped planning around family. Family had to fit around everything else. Our WhatsApp group stayed active. Every morning, somebody forwarded prayers. Someone else shared birthday graphics with balloons and glitter. We reacted with thumbs up emojis. When a cousin graduated, we typed, "Congratulations." When someone posted holiday pictures, we replied, "Beautiful family." Looking back, we knew everything happening online. We knew almost nothing happening in each other's hearts. One evening, my mother called me. "Have you spoken to your brother lately?" "Not recently. He lost his job 3 months ago." I stopped walking. "What? Why didn't he tell me?" She laughed softly. "Maybe because you haven't called him." A few weeks later, I found out one of my sisters had undergone surgery. Not from her, from my mother. Another brother had started struggling with high blood pressure. I didn't know my niece had won a national competition. I saw the photographs weeks after everyone else. We weren't hiding things from each other. We simply weren't talking enough for life to come up naturally. Then, early one Tuesday morning, my phone rang. It was my oldest sister. "Timothy." Her voice broke. Mom collapsed. Everything after that happened in pieces. Flights were changed. Meetings were cancelled. Suitcases were packed without thinking. For the first time in years, every one of us rushed toward the same place. The hospital, the waiting room was crowded. When I walked in, my younger brother stood up to hug me. For a second, it felt normal. Then we sat down. Nobody spoke. We searched for safe questions. "How was your flight?" "It was fine." "How are the children?" "They're growing." Another silence. I realized we had skipped too many years. We didn't know which chapters could be mentioned without long explanations. When the doctor finally came out, we all stood at once. "She's stable," he said. The next 48 hours are important. Only after hearing those words did we breathe. The days that followed changed something in us. We took turns staying with Mom. One person brought food, another handled medications. Someone else stayed overnight. Between those routines, something unexpected happened. We started talking again. Real talking. One night, my younger brother admitted he'd almost returned home after losing his job but had been too ashamed to tell anyone. I thought everyone believed I was doing well. My sister looked at him in disbelief. We would have helped. I know that now. Another evening, my eldest sister confessed she'd been caring for her husband through depression for nearly 2 years. Nobody knew, not because she wanted to hide it, because nobody had asked beyond, "How's the family?" We laughed over stories from childhood. We argued about who broke the sitting room window with a football. My mother, still weak, opened one eye and whispered, "It was Timothy." Everyone burst into laughter. "I knew she'd remember," my brother said. For the first time in years, the room sounded like home. Weeks later, Mom was discharged. Before everyone left, she looked at us one by one. "I don't want the next time I see all my children together to be at my funeral." Nobody answered, because we all knew how close that sentence had come to becoming true. This time we didn't make emotional promises we'd forget by Monday. We made practical ones. The first Sunday evening of every month became a family video call. Not optional, not if you're free. Every 3 months, one sibling hosted lunch. The location rotated, so the responsibility never rested on one person. Birthdays required phone calls, not just messages. When someone was struggling, they said so. When someone had good news, they shared it before social media did. The WhatsApp group slowly changed. The forwarded messages almost disappeared. Instead, there were photographs from ordinary Tuesdays, voice notes, questions, jokes, recipes. Children interrupting video calls, real life. It's been several years since my mother's illness. She recovered well. Sometimes she'll sit quietly during our family lunches, watching all of us talking over one another again. When I catch her smiling, I know exactly what she's thinking. People still ask me when my family stopped being a family. I still don't have a date. There wasn't one, no dramatic ending. Just thousands of tiny moments when we assumed there would always be another weekend, another holiday, another phone call. There usually isn't a single day that breaks a family. There are countless ordinary days when nobody chooses to show up. I've learned that love doesn't disappear because people stop caring. More often, it gets buried beneath busy schedules and good intentions. Family isn't something you keep simply because you're related. You keep it by making time before time quietly carries everyone somewhere else. And every time we squeeze around my mother's dining table now, talking too loudly and reaching across each other for the last piece of meat, I'm reminded that the best family reunions are the ones that don't need a crisis to happen first.